initial impressions after your training sessions you've had so far?
Yeah, I think like most preseasons, everybody was pretty excited. I think we've got a little bit probably more of an aura of confidence. 16 guys that we had this spring coming back and having such a good spring season. There's a little bit more of an aura of confidence in this group. And yeah, I mean, without kind of showing our cards too much, I've been pleased, cautiously optimistic, but very, very pleased with kind of where we're at for 3.5 days in.
The spring you had, a lot of us, the returners, motivated to want to get out here this year and have a good season after the disappointment of last year.
Yeah, I think there was a sour taste with the way things kind of finished up for us last year, and that process started back in January, to be quite honest. And so we've got a bunch of hungry guys that were embarrassed with the way things went because it's very unlike our program to be in that type of situation. So they've made it explicitly clear to all our new guys that we're getting back to where we used to be, and I'm certainly glad to see them kind of grab that one by the reins and not having me have to do that.
Obviously, you lose your top 2 goal scorers, and Jamie and Ryan there. Who are you going to be looking for to step forward this year?
Felix Anger had a fantastic spring, putting the ball in the back of the net first. Joey Piacic as well, and I think we've got some guys that now have an opportunity. After playing behind Jamie and Ryan Kane for a couple of years, now they have the opportunity to step forward. And scoring goals hasn't been our problem. I think we're going to go forward and we're going to score. It's on the opposite side of things that we wanted to really make sure that we shore up. But Todd, I don't think we're going to have an issue in terms of the goal scoring.
You look at last year, that you were outscored 34-32, which obviously shows you were in just about every game.
Yeah,
seal the deal.
That's, I think, the most goals we've probably given up in the 10 years I've been here, and so that's the part that we got to fix. But yeah, I mean, I don't think our record was indicative of the type of team we were last year. We just made quite a few mistakes that cost us some games, and so. Jamie and Ryan Kane, those kind of guys are not easy to replace. Any coach will tell you, and you lose a senior that's kind of got that much experience and done so well that they're never easy to replace. But my worry is not scoring; it's going to be on the other side of the ball.
Obviously, you have a new goalkeeper this year, whoever it is. Who are the guys that you're looking at right now?
Yeah, we've got Conrad redshirted last year as a freshman. He was a U18 international for the United States, and so he'll have his opportunity. He had a very good spring. Stephen Bannock redshirted last year, was an incoming transfer, who also got an opportunity to play. So the two of them split all the minutes in the spring, and obviously both did very, very well based on the results. The last one is Jose Santos, who played in the junior college national championship game for Tyler Community College. Ended up losing to our center back from Stephen James from Lewisburg, who won the national championship. So interesting that they're on the same team now after playing against each other in the final. So those are the 3 that are competing right now for the #1 jersey, and all 3 of them will get an opportunity to play in our 3 preseason games.
Where is Santos from?
Santos is from New Orleans, Louisiana. Never had a Louisiana kid before. He's got a little. I'm hoping his folks will come up and make us a little. Jambalaya or something like that, yeah.
That sounds good. Before last year, it seemed like a lot of years your team would play better on the road than you actually did here at Dick Gillespie.
I know.
Last year, kind of all fell. You were 1-8 on the road.
Yeah, I think you look at the numbers, and we were outscored by 2 goals across the entire season, and you look at that and you kind of go, wow. I think we were a little bit snake bit last year, and we have to take responsibility for that in terms of some of those tight losses. And I think through experience, hopefully you gain a little bit of confidence. I think this group gained some confidence. We played a bunch of road games this spring and went out and did very, very well. And so, every year is different. Every group is different, but winning is a habit, and we've got to get into winning on the road a little bit better, and we got to do a better job at home as well. And these guys know that. And so, I think if I were to continually look towards last year to be the premise of how we move forward, I wouldn't be doing the right thing with this group. So we got a clean slate. 2016 is a new year, and the goal is to be better in both aspects, both at home and on the road.
You feel like your non-conference schedule is going to set you up for?
Yeah, I mean, Seattle was in the tournament last year. We open up with them. Georgetown's our second game. They were in the Elite Eight or Sweet 16 and won the Big East last year. We've got Maryland, who will probably be the favorite to win the national championship this year at home. So we've got some very difficult games on the non-conference slate, and that's nothing uncommon for what we typically do every year. Sometimes we probably bite off a little bit more than we can chew, but I think those are the games that these guys come here to play in, and certainly, right off the bat, we get to test ourselves with two very difficult opponents.
I feel like Joey could be one of the elite guys in the MAC.
I think he already is. I don't think he gets enough respect for what he does. He was second in the country in assists last year at Division I. And so what we've talked with JoJo about is now from that number 10 role, he's got to get goals from there too. If he starts to get goals from there, I think you'll start to see him really come to the forefront of a lot of national media in terms of accolades and everything else. Sometimes the assist man is overlooked, but if he's going to play in that role underneath our center forward, if he can get 5 or 6 goals from that position, I think sky's the limit for where JoJo could be at the end of the season.
Kind of feel the same way about Tucker coming into his sophomore year.
Yeah, Tucker got a lot of minutes as a freshman last year, and I think the expectations for him have now risen, as they have for a number of guys. And so, Tucker's dynamics and speed and power coming from the midfield has to be able to make up for what we lost out of Ryan Kane and Jamie Merriam this year. And so, Tucker's such a good player, and he's a special player, and I think now that some of those bigger characters have kind of moved on and graduated, the hopes are is that some of these younger guys can now feel a little bit more freedom to be big characters themselves.
How about the back line? I mean, obviously, I know you lose Henry, who played a lot for you back there.
Big time reinforced. Jack back, Albert Yop, who we brought in from Villarreal's academy, who came in January. So we have had him in the system already. Even though he's a freshman, he got to play in all our spring games. So he's in at left back and had a fantastic spring there. Louis Thomas is back at right back, and Stephen James, who was the captain of the national championship junior college team, has joined us as well. We brought in Sporting Kansas City's Young Player of the Year in Ryan Kellogg, who's also a defender, and Logan Lucas from Sporting Kansas City. So we've reinforced our back line. I think our back line is going to be better than it was a year ago. And I think that's a position that we certainly did focus on in recruiting, knowing that we needed to strengthen our defense. And I'm very confident that we've done that with those guys.
And even with all the new guys in, and they've been playing together for the last couple of weeks, and obviously how quickly they all gel, and say a lot about how you're going to do. Can you see that process sort of coming together?
Yesterday morning. Yesterday morning was the first time I saw it really come together very well. I was very excited after yesterday morning's training session with the progression that we've made from day one. The way our system is set up, it's horrible. It's horrible that the way the NCAA has us set up, where we have essentially to do these 2-a-days to get guys ready in 6-7 days and then play all these games in such a short amount of time. It's one of the things that we're trying very, very hard to change because it's not helping and it's not the best. And so the guys are tired, but the training session that we had yesterday under those heavy legs, I was very, very pleased with. And I started to finally see us start to make that turn for where I'd like us to be heading into this first exhibition year.
It just seemed like guys were more comfortable playing with each other.
Yeah, I mean,
passes, that sort of.
Yeah, I mean, it's the chemistry in the group is very good. We worked on it very, very hard this past spring, and keeping the ball and connecting passes and all those kind of things. That's kind of our MO. That's who we are and what we do. It's now, taking that unified kind of approach that they have in terms of their chemistry and their attitudes and their compassion for each other, and be quite honest with you, it's taking it and probably getting a little bit nastier in terms of the defensive side of the ball. So that's something that we're still working on in terms of collectively as a group, wanting them to be a little bit nastier, a little bit harder. But I think that's going to come. We've got essentially another 10 to 12 days before we see our first real match, actually a little bit longer than that. So it's something that will continue to be a focus for me in training.
What's your outlook on the MAC? I mean, obviously, Akron, you have year in, year out there, usually a top 15, top 10 team. How do you feel about the league top to bottom?
I mean, the league, when we first joined it, was something like, I don't know, 20th or 17th in America in terms of the strength of the conference, and it's catapulted in the last 3 years to being one of the top 6 or 7 conferences that we have in Division I men's college soccer. So certainly we like to think that we were a big part of raising the profile of the conference, and but at that same stage, yeah, we get Akron, who was right there competing for a national championship this year, making it all the way to the Final Four. Western Michigan has gotten to be one of the best teams and spent some time in the top 25 last year. Our conference, and any conference, I mean, ask any coach in any conference will tell you that the conference is going to be tough because of it's just different in those matches. But we've got some quality opponents that certainly has made this conference more difficult over the last few years. But at the same stage, I think it's a conference that we can certainly. It's not just Akron and West Virginia, which is probably what it was the first couple of years. But I think now we've got legitimately, 4 or 5 teams in this conference that on any given day can beat anybody.
Generally, the best teams tend to have the most depth. Do you feel like you're going to be able to go deep into your bench this year?
I think that's a great question. I think right now, and you're asking me 3.5 days in, I think that we're probably about 15 or 16 deep. I'd like to get to a spot where I feel comfortable being about 20 deep. But that being said, I'm not one of these coaches who likes to rotate substitutes a whole lot. These kids our goal from a conditioning standpoint is have them conditioned for 94 minutes. So I'd prefer not to have to go 20 deep. But the goal is that if we've got 16, 18 guys, that we should feel pretty good heading into opening weekend.
Obviously, most coaches would like to just go with one goalkeeper the whole year. I mean, I'm sure that's probably your hope. Do you have any idea? Would you use 2 again this year?
All through the first 3.5 days, we literally rotated them, all 3 of them, to have a good look. And I'm not sure that we're going to know that answer until after these preseason games. Where, like I said, we're going to use all of them. Where I think in years past we've kind of had an idea who it was going to be and gave that person the bulk of the minutes. We're going to have to use all 3 of them because I haven't made that decision yet. And I think all 3 of them are pretty darn close.
All 3 of them have different strengths.
Yeah, very much so. Very much so. Jose's a longer goalkeeper. He's got really long arms and long legs. And Stephen Bannock's more of an explosive, athletic goalkeeper. He's, I think, the shortest of the 3 of them. And then Conrad Jitzik's probably, the guy who comes up with some of the biggest saves. And so all 3 have different qualities. We don't ask our goalkeepers to make a whole lot of saves. Last year, I think our save percentage was pretty low. Those 34 goals or whatever it was you said they were came on, I think, one of the fewest amount of shots in the country. I mean, if you look at the national statistics, we didn't give up very many shots on goal per game, yet we conceded a lot of goals, and that was the concern. And so, I think we're asking our goalkeeper to make that one save or 2 that just keeps you in the game and keeps you ahead, or keeps the scoreline even, and the rest of the way you can just manage it. And so, I think it might even be one of those things where, depending on the situation, if we're going to have more of the game, or if we're looking at playing a team like an Akron or Maryland, where the goalkeeper might be under a little bit more pressure. But yes, in a perfect world, I'd like to have a number 1 that kind of solidifies that spot and makes it evidently clear that they're the number 1. But I don't think we're there yet.
Is the new locker room open yet? Have you been?
It is.
Have you been in there?
Yeah, it's nice. It's nice. After Penn State complained about the fireworks going off in their tent over there, I thought it was a nice advantage having those guys in the tent, especially since we won the game 3-0. But I guess we decided to finally put a second locker room out here, which means the visitors will have a little bit of a quieter spot over here.